not too long ago, 7 weeks ago, at the National Cancer Congress in Malaysia, and I'd like to and this might be new to you, so I'll just share it with you what this is about and also what we have done since then. But just to give you some background information, at least on our big picture view of Malaysia, I think what we're seeing, at least from the perspective coming from Singapore, is that Malaysia faces a twin crisis where a lot of folks don't have enough money for their retirement. I mean, if you look at EPF data, this is something that we picked up from last year, that no matter how you skew it, whether by ethnicity or by income, Malaysians just don't have enough money for their retirement ahead. But what's very shocking is that in the future, I mean today, looking at the Malaysian Cancer Registry database, we're looking at about seniors 65 and over, making up 1/3 of cancer cases diagnosed annually. And that's going to double to just about 43,000 in 2040, which is a very, very alarming data. But what's even more equally alarming is when you look at the 2021 study on how many seniors are insured, it's huge, because things like these are 80% of people between 60 and 69 that don't have insurance coverage. And as more leave the workforce, it goes up to 90% people that just do not have any sort of insurance to mitigate potential healthcare shocks that such as cancer. You look at the options available for seniors today. Okay, you could look at personal loans, and it's something where, as a person who's not working or maybe beyond 65, you may be ineligible. And yes, adult children could help, but they might face hurdles because of the fact that they may have their own home loans, their own car loans or personal loans, and the debt service ratios considerations to be acknowledged. Of course, maybe one of the things that people could consider is to sell the home and rent for life. But it's something that, yes, you could do, but how long does it take to sell a home in today's market? It's uncertain. And even when you rent for life, you also don't know whether landlord will one day call you and say, hey, I need the home back because my son wants to come and move in here. And you could find yourself homeless in your twilight years, and potentially without cash if you find that you consume all the cash that has been released from selling your home. And that's something that we don't really want seniors to go through. And lastly, we have reverse mortgages here in Malaysia. And how they work is that you can borrow against the value of the home, and the loan is repaid only when you pass on. But when you look at the maths behind it, it's very, very costly to seniors because all these hefty transaction expenses, they make you pay for it as a borrower. And the debt is currently at 5.9% that's published per annum. And that accrues with interest over time. And typically, they don't tell you this, but in the website, the loans repaid via property auction when the borrower passes on. And as you know, property auctions are never the best way to get the best value because that's a lelong sale, it's a fire sale. So it's not very, very good. And this is what people face. And we felt that there had to be a better solution. So that's why we partnered with Kenaga Investors Berhad. They are a 22 billion ringgit fund house to tap on the power of capital markets to help seniors unlock wealth from their homes. So what we're doing is we're transforming wealth that you're living in, you cannot touch because you cannot sell a piece of your roof to top up the savings. It doesn't work that way. What we're going to do is, how can we help you to tap into this massive wealth while still staying in there? And at the same time, it's something that is not driven by the government, it's driven by the private market based on a willing buyer, willing seller basis. So our source of capital are institutional investors that are seeking to do good and do well at the same time. So, we have Kenaga investors leading the charge on this. And these investors are investing for long-term returns. So it's for a commercial basis, first of all. But at the same time, if they can meet their commercial returns, they're also doing this so that they can create impact. So the social impact, of helping cancer patients, access life-saving treatments. They're investing for environmental impact, and most importantly, will help close the cancer care gap. I'll tell you how it works, both from the senior side and then later from the institutional investor side. So, but let's talk about a fictional senior, we call Sabrina, that needs maybe 150,000 ringgit for her treatment. And, and it's something that after discussing with her husband, she's like, why not take a KALSIS to preserve my retirement savings? Because if I'm going to spend, if I only have 200,000 in my bank account, and I take out 150 right away, I'm down to 50,000, and that's not going to be very much for me to live on for the rest of my life and my husband's. So they take up KALSIS, and what happens is that KALSIS will buy their home at the market value. So that's and the value will be determined independently by a professional valuer, so that when the valuation report, we can share it with the seller, and we'll also share it with the investor. So it's fair for both parties at the end of the day, and we pay for that. But when they sell their home, or only buying the title, but they get to use 100% of the space for their lifetimes. Because our notion of homes these days is that it's one thing. But in our view of the world, the home consists of both the title and the space. So for us, we can buy the title, 100% of the title, the senior can use 100% of the space. And how it then works is that, and it'll be for their lifetimes. And how it works is that we're not going to be able to pay 100% of the cash, right? Because we cannot sell the next day because somebody's living there, nor can we rent it out. So what we do is we pay 10% lump sum for the first year based on the market value of the home that we buy it at. So if let's say the home was valued at 1.5 million ringgit, 10% in year one translates to 150,000 ringgit. That's cash that will be delivered into your bank account. You can do whatever you want with it. It's for your cancer care needs. Subsequently, for year 2 onwards, for as long as the couple lives, so which means even if Sabrina passes on, the husband lives, we'll still continue paying 4% lump sum of the home sale price, either in lump sum for your healthcare needs, which translates to 60,000 a year, or if let's say you're healthy and you're in recovery, well, then you can divide that across 12 months and it'll be 5,000 ringgit a month for your living expenses. And so these vary depending on your property value. So it means to say if your property is worth 2 million, then therefore the year one will be 200,000, and then the 4% will be different. Similarly, if let's say your home is like 1 million or less, the money will be different. But the ratios always remain the same. And we always tell people that we don't know what your cancer condition is. We don't know what you're going to spend your money on. So if there's going to be more than what you're going to spend on, like 150,000, like say you're going to spend 200,000, well, then you need to top up 50,000 from your personal savings. But it's a big part of it has already been mitigated. Now, one of the things that we always get asked about is like, John, what happens if both me and Sabrina pass on in less than 5 years? Gosh, that means that I have given you a 1.5 million ringgit home, but I only got maybe year 150, then I might have maybe 240. So I've got less than 500,000 ringgit, but I sold you a 1.5 million home. Rugi, right? So we said, no, you cannot have it that way. So what we do is that when the home is sold to KALSIS, the couple can nominate an individual that would receive the proceeds of the home if they were to pass on in less than 10 years. They'll get a portion of the proceeds back. I'll tell you how that proportion works, but always bear in mind that when the scheme ends, only scheme ends when both the couple, Sabrina and husband, pass on. If one is still alive, the scheme continues and still receive the payouts and still stay in the home for life. So what happens if, let's say, they pass on earlier than 10 years? So what happens is then, when that day happens, first of all, we'll just grant nominee access to the home to retrieve any of the sentimental items that you want to keep. And at the same time, we're going to do our best efforts to sell the home. Now, if the nominee wants to go and buy the home, by all means, you need to buy it at the future market value, whichever that time that is. But if you don't want to buy the home because maybe the kids have really left, to go abroad, or they have moved their own home and their own family, then we're going to sell it on the open market. And when you finish selling it, and if it's within 10 years from when the scheme commenced, we'll provide a portion of these proceeds back. So meaning to say if that the couple died within, say, year 5, that individual is going to get 63% of 1.5 million. And this proportion goes all the way to year 10. So even by year 10, 40% of 1.5 million is a substantial amount of money. But beyond year 10, there's no more of these because we start to assume the longevity risk. So that's how KALSIS works, as in a way to help you to take money out of the home in a way that's not debt, but it's using your equity from your home and translating it into liquidity for your healthcare and retirement needs. Because no one knows when you're going to pass on. No one knows, not even us. So what we can do is design a system that keeps paying you for as long as you live in your own house. But what we've done is that we made it clear that because our nature of our capital is for seniors who are the most underserved community in Malaysia. If you were a lot younger, you have access to employee health insurance, you have access to loans like Amden, you have a lot of options. But once you are older, options become less. So that's why we make it available for people that are 65 years and over, that own a home and are currently undergoing for treatment for cancer, but also we also can cover those that are in maintenance mode. And the home presently, we just started, has to be freehold landed within Klang Valley and being occupied by the homeowner as their primary place of residence. We're not going to help people that have got investment properties because you can sell these investment properties to, and it's much more effective for them. So we want to help people who want to live in the comfort of the home to recover and, in the comfort and also the familiarity of their communities. And so these are the other criteria that where we buy the homes. I won't go into all these details, but suffice to say that what we do at the end of the day is to provide a massive cash injection upfront for healthcare needs in the first year, and then subsequently in year 2, depending on your health condition, you can either get a lump sum. You just tell us with a doctor's letter that you still need to go to the hospital and this is your bills. We'll then therefore give you the lump sum. Otherwise, we divide it across 12 months for monthly annuities for living expenses, assuming that you're healthy. But the main interesting thing is that what we do is we go beyond that to incorporate complementary services because our funding is not debt, our funding is equity. So we are funded by institutional investors. So we include basic home repairs and home maintenance. So if your roof leaks, your pipes burst, if you've got electrical problems, call us. We'll get a guy to come and fix it. And we also include for basic pest control, so termites, those are nasty things. And we also learn from Singapore to incorporate fire safety devices to SCDF standards. And we also pay for the home insurance for the home so that, to prevent, to mitigate the unexpected. And because we own the home already, we'll take care of the quit rent and assessment charges for life. So you're thinking, okay, You're thinking, how does this work? Well, we're based on a very ancient model called the French viager. It's been around for centuries. And what it does is that it's actually a peer-to-peer agreement between a willing buyer and a willing seller. The willing buyer is a middle-aged person, like my age, maybe a bit younger, maybe a bit older. But and the willing seller is somebody who's a lot older that needs the cash today, but don't want to move. They are very happy with the house where they are. But the willing buyer will say, hey, I like your place, but I don't need it today. Maybe when I retire one day, in 20 years' time, I will go and I would like to live here. So they sign a contract with a viager lawyer, and the buyer promises to make a down payment and monthly annuities until the seller passes away. So they get to stay in home for life, and when they pass away, the home title goes to the buyer eventually.
So you need to find such a buyer?
So in France, you have on an annual basis 5,500 transactions annually because it's been around for centuries, so you have the data for that. representing about 1% of the entire residential market. And what we're seeing is at least the average age of the seller is about mid-70s, and the investment duration is about 15 years, roughly. So, but what we're seeing now is previously what was a peer-to-peer transaction between one person, one buyer, one seller, we're seeing now the emergence of institutional investors, where you have many sellers, one buyer. Why that? What's very interesting is because we don't know how long one person is going to live for. But when you have many, many people coming to you, you start having a portfolio of homes where every single year you know that there will be a certain properties will be sold and capital returned back to investors. And these are the sort of performance figures that we've got in the past. So what we've done is that we've created this, used this model to adapt it to Malaysian laws, regulations, and context. So bear with me here. I'm going to do my best to explain this, and please feel free to take the pictures. So we have on our left here, Tenaga Investors Berhad. They are the investment managers that sits between us and investors. And these are investors like pension funds and sovereign wealth funds that have billions of ringgit to deploy. And some of them are already existing Tenaga clients. So what they do is that we actually work together where we, as KALSIS, that's the Veggie administrator, are the ones that generate the leads, that bring in people into the program, screen them, screen the homes, and make sure that they are fit for investment, and also support customers throughout the journey itself. And what we have below us is what we call a SPV, a special purpose vehicle, which is the transacting entity between the investors and the seniors. In the seniors, we call them participants or secondary participants. And what happens is that when we buy the homes, we issue shares back to Tenaga to hold for the investors. And at the same time, this transacting entity is the one that enters into your sales and purchase agreement for the home. And we are the ones also, SPV, makes the payouts on an annual basis or monthly basis to the seniors. Now, when we buy the home, it was not the SPV that's the registered homeowner, it will be Tenaga Trustees Berhad. So a trustee is basically an independent party that would hold this as a custodian, as a trustee for the SPV if it's still solvent. If it becomes insolvent, the Tenaga's Trustee Berhad is to basically act for the seniors. Now, I'll talk more about this because this is central to how we go to protect seniors. You know, even if I'm not around, the system will be there to protect seniors. So normally, in normal times, we on an annual basis call for funds from the investors via Tenaga to then pay out to the seniors. So when we actually call for these funds, it includes management fees and operating expenses. So that's how we get paid. We're not going to levy any charges on seniors or hospitals or people that help bring them in, because we already recognize that cancer is such an expensive thing to a burden to handle. We don't want to add more onto that person's shoulders. So what happens is that whenever the capital comes in on an annual basis, we will then issue preference shares back to Tenaga for the investors to hold. And this is in normal times. And when there is a passing and the scheme ends, we sell the home, Tenaga Trustees Berhad sell the home, then when we receive the proceeds, it channels it back to an SPV and straight back to the investors. So that way, it's a very clear process. But what happens if any of these investors do not pay, say in year 15, year 20, whatever? What happens then? So we go back to how it works in France. So in France, when the buyer fails to make a payment, for whatever reason, doesn't matter, don't give me any excuse, if you fail to make a payment at any time, the title goes back to the willing seller automatically, and you keep all the money to date. So meaning if you actually market already 1 million, you keep the 1 million, and the title goes back to you automatically. So which means the buyer, rugi lah. That's their fault. So we've implemented this for Malaysia. So what it means is that if the investors, for whatever reason, fail to respond to our annual capital call, even though they already signed the share subscription, their preference shares are automatically redeemed at nominal value. Then Kenanga trustees, then an insurance scheme that the SPV has been paying on an annual basis kicks in that will pay for the transfer fees like the stamp duty, legal and trustee fees for Kenanga trustees Berhad to to transfer the title back to the seller.
So meanwhile, if the owners just pay utility bills, that's it.
Yeah, so as long as the investors keep paying, because the owner, the senior has already sold us their home. So the obligation is for investors now pay on an annual basis based on the prescribed formula. As long as the seniors are still alive, you agree to do that. So that's how we hold them accountable. You stop that, title goes back to them. We're not even...
It's more on investment than, general buyers.
Yes. So what we're doing is that this whole scheme over here is actually is actually meant to advance Islamic finance from what is from current state of halal, permissible, to a higher state of tayyib, impact and meaningful. So this is really at its heart what we're trying to do, but with all these protection systems built in for seniors as a result.
So this one come under Capital Market Services Act or come under Banking
CMSA.
Insurance Act?
No, CMSA. Capital Market Services Act. Yeah.
So it's under the purview of Security Commission?
Yep. So that's why we have to work with a licensed fund manager, which is Kenanga Investors Berhad.
Okay, if I'm going into the agreement with the investor, is there can put a clause on weekly reversible this one? Maybe the person participate, the seller, she's part of trade, she don't want to have
Yeah,
this.
so we actually get that question a lot actually. And so we always tell people, if you're already struggling to even muster up 150K for your healthcare needs, what are the chances of getting 1.5 million or more, now that the market is higher, to do that? And actually it's like lottery, very, very slim chances. So we rather focus on what can we deliver for the seniors to ensure they have a roof over their heads and lifelong payouts for life for either healthcare or retirement living needs. That's our priority there.
So once you enter into the agreement, you cannot reverse back.
No. It's designed for long term. And it's difficult to unwind. It's not a loan. Because a loan you can repay back provided you have the capital. But we're really working on the premise that people who come to us are using this to finance their home and they're not looking to repay it back, you see. So we've taken away the repayment risk, as it were, in the future.
Criteria is very stringent. You put down freehold method.
Yes.
What title with landed?
So it can be also land title or it can be part of as long as it's landed, is fine. So even if you're in a gated development, so even if you're a gated development, which comes under the Strata Title Act, it will still be considered.
So never leasehold, is it?
Huh? We haven't been able to. The reason why we don't do leasehold yet is because we don't know how to price the lease decay, the effects of lease decay, especially going in the future. And it's an issue we also have in Singapore. Like, how do you then price it in the fact that because the value of the land is the value of the house is in the land itself, and it's the same for Malaysia, unfortunately. So we don't know how to price for that, and be fair to the senior.
Hey John, it's a very good option for seniors who just to have assets, right?
Yeah.
But don't have the income. We have many of, I live in Damansara, so a lot of them are retirees down there. So even someone told
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
So this is actually a very, very good option, a good product.
Thank you.
But how long before, from the time they agree to the
3 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, how long?
3 to 5 weeks.
Disbursement.
Because you're transferring title, yeah? So, but this is without restrictions on title, so it's quite for Selangor and KL.
Freehold criteria.
3 to 5 weeks.
By the time they agree, they sign documents, 3 to 5 days.
3 to 5 weeks.
Or weeks?
Weeks, yeah, because it's a title transfer. So, but we will try ask land office to expedite because of the special nature of this. So maybe it's less, but on a business as usual, it's 3 to 5 weeks.
Okay, so you go through the same process as you in a debt transaction.
Yeah, it'll be the same timelines as you see for any property transaction. It's just that the nature of this is life-saving for healthcare and retirement needs.
Probably I missed the earlier part. You said just now landed and strata.
Freehold. Freehold. Yeah,
Doesn't matter whether it's landed or strata.
doesn't matter. Because is it land title or,
Okay. As long as it has a title by itself, right? Second question. Senior, you define as 65 just now.
Yes. Oops, sorry.
What if co-owners?
Both
Whoever comes first or
both includes spouse and partner.
both have to pass the 65?
Yeah. So we're trying to incorporate a feature one day where there's a there's an age differential and price it accordingly. But we don't have that feature yet. But if you want to leave the details behind, we can come back to you when we are ready with that feature. Not too far away, but it's just that we just started 7 weeks ago.
It's too far away for me to get to 65.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No good. I love the product, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, but then again, once they sign the agreement,
Yeah.
the owner will know how long they can stay there. As you said, they can stay there forever until they die, something like that. So
Yeah.
they know that when the house will be sold, then the term itself, how long?
We don't know.
Is it?
We don't know because
Open like that, is it?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the way. It's just a different model, because we built the system so that debt doesn't work against your longevity. We want to work with you to get better and live your years ahead, which we want hope as long as possible. So it was started with that intention. You see, we didn't use that. We used equity as a result.
so they totally value on the property itself, not interest.
Nope.
Oh, that's very good.
Yep. So it's a different model.
It has been up running in Singapore.
Well, actually, so I think NCSM alluded that I'm actually ex-Khazanah Temasek. So we actually launched something in Singapore, but then Upstairs told me, hey, you should do Malaysia, and I said, why? It's like, and then they showed me why. It's like, okay, I think I told Singapore, wait first, we'll do Malaysia.
So Singapore haven't.
We put a hold on Singapore first, because Singapore has more safety nets than Malaysia. The nature of our work is impact, so we go where the needs the most.
So Malaysian to Malaysian, I mean Singaporean cannot buy property.
No, yeah, you can actually, because I say,
Foreigner can buy?
and per PR and MM2H resident. So if you got a fella who applied MM2H a long time ago, could be from UK, wherever, as long as he has the long-term residency and he's got a house, why not?
The valuable for the house will be independent or appointed by the.
It will be appointed by us. I mean, because we are paying for the bill.
If the house owner does not agree with the valuable, then you ask for it.
Willing buyer, willing seller.
Just being curious a little bit. In France, the inheritance tax is very high, right?
Mm.
Inheritance
Mm.
tax.
Yes.
So as a result, maybe for the elderly to pass down whatever inheritance to the younger generation may not be practical. So it works in France. That's why it's a model in France,
Yes.
correct?
And also culturally, it's very different from Asia. But I think where we're alluding to is whether or not I'll answer the elephant in the room, which is basically, can you bequest the home to the kids? The answer is not so simple, because at the end of the day, you can actually nominate an individual who is your son or daughter to receive the proceeds if you are both to pass on earlier than 10 years. So to say, depends. But what we're trying to do is come up with a scheme that doesn't burden the next generation. Already, I have got a kid and a wife and bills to pay. Imagine having to then help to pay for my parents' medical care. I don't think I can handle it, you see. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we don't burden the next generation so that they can, get treated, but then the kids can, if the parents pass on earlier, they can have the abortion proceeds itself. Okay, I've got a few more slides because I want to unveil some very incredible things that have happened since NCCM. So 7 weeks ago, we unveiled KALSIS and announced that we had set aside funding for the first batch of homes, with Canada investors leading a charge and more on the way. Since then, we've been talking to a lot of people. We found that a lot of barriers for people asking for financial assistance. And this is a US study where people just didn't know that such financial assistance programs exist. And they didn't even know that they're eligible for it because we think that it's for people that are really down and out. And of course, they're always very scared asking a hospital because then they think, oh, this one cannot pay, I better blacklist. And that's what people are thinking right now. And again, the cancer journey is very overwhelming. So you don't have time to think about these things. And in this similar study, in the US study, they actually provided some very clear actionables. What can you do to improve this? So first of all, address the stigma, that it's okay to ask for help. The second thing is that from a provider perspective, make sure it's clear, actionable, and accurate. So that way, you can then see the path ahead, and it's something that if you don't understand, somebody can come and explain a bit more, so you can understand what it's about, and you can simplify the application process. So what we observe on the ground is very interesting because we see it differently. And the practice of financial counseling here in Malaysia is very uneven across public and even private hospitals. Even private hospitals also have the different systems. And when patients have to ask for information about cancer care, some of you have gone through, it's very fragmented all over the place. And sometimes it's outdated. And what really people need is like a concierge, like somebody they can go to, like it's almost like NCSM, promoting them also, on what to do, what's the next steps, how do you do it? The second thing is that we recognize that KALSIS is very complicated and it's also very new. So we have to talk to people in a trusted environment, such as like this, but this doesn't happen every day. So we recognize that we have to be in hospitals. So people can come to our concierge counter to ask information so that they can make an informed decision quickly. Time is of the essence, but making a good decision is even more important. Thirdly, I think hospitals, they don't tell you this, but they really want to maintain the ethical standards and not recommend any product. They give you the options and you can then go and find it for yourself. So what we're going to do is make ourselves very easy for people to find this on the ground itself. And one thing about what we recognize about patient access programs is that currently it's being shaped by means testing and established protocols. So I wouldn't name this private hospital that's doing it, but you look at what they offer. There's only 3 of these. First of all, if you are a breast cancer patient, they can only give it to you if you are diagnosed in early stage. But that means that 50% of cases are ineligible. Then how? Then also, if you need targeted therapy, it's trastuzumab only. But what if you don't need it, you need other things? That's one thing. Then the other thing is radiotherapy. How much am I going to get as a subsidy for that? Not sure. And thirdly, colorectal cancer. I want to talk more about this because it's something that we see a lot more happening with seniors. But with this, you only get a chemotherapy. What about surgical interventions, which you need to excise? So I think there's this need for a more meaningful patient support program that first of all covers all types of cancers and all stages. That's the first thing you need to do. The second thing is, come on, let's include the surgical procedure so it's holistic and cover all systemic treatments. So, even TCM, you want to do TCM, go ahead. Just make sure you get medical advice from that first. And it's most importantly not limited to those who are in need, want to preserve their retirement savings. Meaning to say that, like I say, if I need 150K for my treatment, but I only have 200K, Must I actually spend the money first and become financially in trouble before help comes? Could we not just like say, why not just do this so that I'm making a wealth decision that preserves my retirement savings, get treated, I'm in a better shape? Why don't we just do that first before we get to the point that we need a financial assistance? So we call this, that's why we're moving from financial assistance to a patient support program, which has a very clear end-to-end pathway for patients. I'm pleased to announce in the coming weeks, we'll be unveiling a KALSIS Thomson Hospital Kota Damansara patient support program. Now this is really the first of its kind because we are trying to collectively mitigate the financial costs of patients' medical treatment plan. You look there, sometimes it's a six-figure sum. It's a huge amount, especially for someone who's uninsured and has to pay all that. How can we actually provide an actionable plan to get it funded? And okay, I'm using pie charts, so please, it's for illustration only. Actual percentages differ based on individual circumstances and conditions. But we're imagining how KALSIS can mitigate a big part of it. And with Thomson coming in as part of their support for KALSIS patients, they can actually help mitigate a part of the hospital services costs. And with help from the pharmaceutical patient access programs, we can also lob off a bit of bill. So meaning to say that patient will only pay this much on the green side. So that's the concept that we are bringing to market in about 1 or 2 weeks' time. And it's the first of its kind because no other private healthcare group does this. And we think it's going to be a big thing for a lot of cancer patients that want to choose a private setting. But that being said, we will still serve people coming from MOH or university hospitals. If they want to get treated there, they want to unlock wealth in their homes to get the treatments in IKN or UMMC, it's fine. We'll just fund them where they are. But we want to provide another option, which is this. I think what the principle is, we want to try and give as many options as possible for people to then choose what suits them best, because we believe that people know what they want itself. So what we're doing now is basically putting in the concierge in Thomson Hospital. We're coordinating the hospital very closely, and we're going to really tell people about how good this program is for patients. And by 2025, NCCM 2025, what we hope to do is extend the learnings from Thomson Hospital to other hospitals once our exclusivity completes. And what we want to